Hey, what's up guys? It's Jess. Welcome back to my channel. I switched up the setting a little bit in hopes of avoiding Grease Girl again, but we'll see once I edit this video if it actually worked out. It is currently REU application season, so I'm going to be giving you all the one-stop workshop for everything you need to know about applying for REUs. All of the information I'm going to present to you today is from a presentation that I made for the League of Astronomers meeting, and if you're wondering what template I used to create this presentation, it was from this website called Slides Go. They have super aesthetic templates, and I use this website for all of my presentations. The content of today's video is going to include the following: how to decide if an REU is right for you, where to find REUs, how to pick which REUs you should apply for, how to create an effective schedule, documents you need to provide, how to write a resume/CV, how to ask for letters of recommendation, how to write a personal statement/answer writing prompts, what to do while you're waiting for decisions, and what to do if you don't get accepted. First, we are going to talk about the question of, is an REU right for you? I totally forgot to mention what an REU is. An REU is normally a funded research experience that occurs over the summer. Normally, you would work with a mentor and perhaps other students, and you would also travel to that location, which may vary due to the pandemic. The REU you might be applying for might switch to being online. But if you are considering an REU, it's important to ask yourself the following questions. Can you imagine spending your entire summer doing research? If you are someone that loves research, loves working with mentors and other students, loves going to different locations and trying new experiences, you want to build up your resume, you want to be set for grad school, you want to have that experience to know if you truly enjoy research or not, then an REU is probably perfect for you. Also, it's important to think about what other commitments/plans you have going on in the summer. Since an REU is pretty much a full-time commitment and you're most likely going to have to move to that state temporarily in order to do that REU if it's in person, you kind of have to let go of any other commitments or plans you may have had during the summer. For example, I currently go to school at UW. I live in Washington, but if my REU is in Minnesota, I'm not going to be able to do an in-person summer quarter because the REU is in a completely different state and all of my time is going to be spent doing research. The last question you can ask yourself is, do you like the idea of traveling for an extended period of time? You have to think, you're going to be away from friends and family. You're going to meet a bunch of new people, which is going to be great, but do you want to experience that new lifestyle change? And if the answer is yes, and that is something that excites you, it doesn't matter if it scares you or not, but if it's something that excites you when you want to go after it, then totally, an REU is great. But if it's not something that you are truly passionate about, nor see yourself really getting into and loving to pursue it, then, probably not worth it to apply. The next topic is where to find REUs. One particular site that I have used pretty frequently in the REU search is National Science Foundation. And this website gives you a huge list of different REUs you can apply for. Right now, I'm on astronomical sciences, but you can totally change it to whatever your major is. There are so many for so many different fields of study. And you can just scroll through the list and kind of decide which one interests you, if the location interests you, all that stuff, which I will get into in a little bit. The next website you can look at is the American Astronomical Society. And if you click on their website here, it also gives you a bunch of REU options as well. And in general, this is basically what I did before I even knew about NSF and whatnot. I just searched up your major, so astronomy REUs, and normally you would find the NSF to appear like as one of the first links, but you can also find school specific REUs that might come up. For example, when I searched up astronomy REUs, the University of Hawaii opened up and stuff like that. Next, I'm going to be talking about how to create an effective schedule when applying for REUs. And this is super important because if you're going to be applying to multiple, which you should, you're going to need to have an effective, organized schedule so that you can get everything done and have enough time to perfect your applications. This is an example of how to create a good schedule. By the way, these dates are totally made up, so if you like these schools, just know that this is not when their actual due date is. I just made it for the purpose of this video. So let's say you're applying to 3 REU applications. You have the University of Minnesota, and its official due date is due January 30th. You have the University of Hawaii, where its official due date is February 5th. And you have the University of Michigan, where its official due date is February 11th. You want to make sure that you set your own due dates and set these due dates before the actual deadline. For example, University of Minnesota is technically due January 30th, but I've set here that I'm going to finish it January 15th. The University of Hawaii is technically due February 5th, but I've set a due date of January 20th. And lastly, the University of Michigan is technically due February 11th, but I am going to finish it on January 25th. The best timeline for your schedule is as follows. First, figure out which REUs you want to apply for. Number 2, set your own due dates. You want to make sure you give yourself ample time in order to perfect each application that you're working on and you're not cramming at the last minute to get it done. Number 3, contact your letter writers. And number 4, submit your applications early. The next topic is how to figure out which REUs you should apply for. The first thing to consider is popularity/acceptance rates. And acceptance rates for REUs generally aren't, submitted out into the public the same way that they are for college admissions, but you may or may not be able to guess whether or not an REU might be popular. Another related point is to think about location. I asked one of my professors about the REU process, and she mentioned think about location and where people want to spend their summers. For example, it's probably going to be hard to get into the University of Hawaii's REU since everyone would love to spend their summer in Hawaii. Whereas just as good of an REU at University of Minnesota, not a lot of people may be applying for because it's in Minnesota and not many people think, oh, I would love to spend my summer in Minnesota. And maybe then the acceptance rate is a little bit higher and you have a better chance of getting into that REU. Those bullet points were more so related to the likelihood of you getting into an REU, but the next bullet point is to think about research topic. Obviously, getting into any REU is super, super cool, but you want to make sure that the REUs that you are applying for are topics that you can see yourself thoroughly enjoying for the entirety of your summer. For example, my major is astronomy and comprehensive physics, but I would hate to do a physics REU that's related to electromagnetism. That is something that I'm not passionate about, and I'm sure that there's an REU that exists there, but I'm not going to waste my time applying for that REU just to say that I have an REU over the summer if I don't truly love it. And imagine that's the only REU I get into and I do that over the summer and I hate it. That would be, like the worst 3 months ever because I'm not really enjoying my time. And there's other ways to make money other than getting funded by an REU. The next thing to consider is the amount of time that's going to be required to perfect your applications and get them all submitted before the due date. There are probably over 30 REUs in your specific field, but you do not want to apply to 30 because how are you realistically going to make the best application possible for all 30 applications? Not all of them are the same. Some of them have different personal statement topics or other writing prompts, and it's really difficult to make them the best you can in a limited amount of time, like a month, 2 months. Definitely don't apply to just 1 or 2, but also don't apply to over 20. I mean, I guess if you have the time, you can apply for more, but I just don't see that it's worth it to apply to that many, especially if you're really, really only passionate about, 3 or 4, and those are the ones that you really want. You should devote all your time to making those the perfect applications. So I would recommend between 5 and 15 is probably a good number. I personally applied to 8 this time around. The next topic I'm going to be talking about is the documents that you will most likely need to include in each application. In all of the ones that I've applied to so far, I've needed to provide an unofficial transcript. This basically shows them the coursework that you've completed and also your grades and GPA. Number 2 is a CV/resume. This gives them a list of your skills and qualifications, but it also shows what you've done outside of school. Number 3 is your letter writer contact info. Most of the time it's their name, perhaps affiliation, so just their school, the phone number, and the email. And lastly, personal statement/writing prompts. I will get into this in detail later, but basically you need to describe that you're passionate about what you want to do without saying, I'm passionate about what I want to do. The next topic is going to be creating the perfect CV/resume. Here are the most common things you're probably going to want to include in your CV/resume. Education, so which school you go to, your GPA, the majors you're in, your work experience, your academic experience, related coursework, skills, and then you can talk about extracurricular activities, awards, or other achievements. Now I'm going to be showing you an example of my resume. By the way, I found my resume template on Overleaf. They have a bunch of cool ones on there, and I really recommend you do it on there as opposed to Google Docs or something like that. My resume is 2 pages, which is kind of long, and most REUs that I've run into so far don't actually require a 1-page maximum, so I just decided to put as much as possible. However, you might also want to consider they're probably just going to look at your resume and then, move on to the next applicant. So you want to make sure it's concise and they're able to see the highlights, the most important things. So I think in the future I might shorten this down, but this is just everything that I have so far. First, I give my name and contact info, and then I go right into education. So I'm at the University of Washington. I'm in a Bachelor of Arts in Astronomy and Comprehensive Physics. I say where this is located, and I say the dates I have been attending the school. I say my expected graduation date and also my cumulative GPA and also the quarters that I've received Dean's List. Next, I go into work experience, and as you all know, I've had a variety of jobs over the last few years, but I only put the one that would be really applicable to this REU. I wrote about my experience as an academic tutor. I highlighted that I'm able to work with people of a variety of different ages and get them to where they want to be. Next, I get into academic experiences, which is basically just a summary of all of the research that I've done. First, I started with astronomy research, then I moved on to physics research, and then I got a NASA grant to do full-time research over the summer, and then on the first day of school, I got contacted by NASA, and now I'm a JPL intern. I highlighted that all of these experiences were different research topics, so it shows that I'm well diversified, that I can handle pretty much anything that comes my way, but it also highlights the technical skills I've acquired, for example, learning how to code and use MATLAB and use Python and all of that stuff. I also showed that I'm able to work with a variety of different mentors and present my research and data effectively to an audience. I also mentioned being a FIG leader, which is where I facilitated a 10-week online course to a bunch of undergrad freshmen to help them transition into the UW. So in my resume, I think I highlighted that I work well with a variety of different people. It doesn't matter their age, their gender, whoever they are, I can work well, communicate, and get something done. The next section is related coursework, and if I needed to shorten my resume to one page, this is probably what I would remove since my transcript generally covers this. But I just wanted to highlight the specific courses I've taken in the areas that they're looking for, so physics, math, astronomy, and additional STEM courses. Next, I talk about other skills that I have. I didn't really list any, communication, teamwork, leadership, because I feel like that is shown through all of the activities that I've done. Instead, here I've listed all of the languages and programs that I know related to computer science. Next, I get into extracurricular activities, so I talked about my experience as the League of Astronomers president, and then I also talked about my experience as the Girls Who Code president. The last section is additional activities and achievements, which is probably something I would remove, again, if I needed to shorten it to one page, but this is where I mentioned that I was Miss Teen Philippines, and I won all those awards at HOSA, and I'm a boxing trainer. That section definitely shows more of my personality outside of just STEM. The next topic is letters of recommendation, and for some reason people are always nervous about asking people for letters of recommendation, but I totally understand, because how do you ask someone for a letter of rec, especially if it needs to be a professor and they have no idea you exist? Most of the time you're probably going to have at least one application that requires you to ask a professor rather than just a research mentor that doesn't teach at your school. And it's really intimidating, especially if you have no connection with them other than just taking their class. But I'm going to show you how I wrote my letter to a professor that I didn't do research with specifically. The title is straight to the point. It says, requesting a letter of recommendation for REU applications. First, I started by saying, hello, Professor blank. I hope you are enjoying the holiday season. I would like to ask if you'd be willing to be a letter of recommendation writer for my REU applications. Boom. Said something nice, straight to the point. Next, I talked about my connection to that professor. Maybe I didn't do research with them specifically, but I was in their class and I performed well in that class. I thoroughly enjoyed my time in blank. I made many friends with other students in the class, and I appreciate you for creating a supportive and welcoming environment that encouraged students to willingly participate out of pure curiosity rather than feeling forced to for a grade, which I genuinely felt like that. Everything I say here is totally accurate. For those reasons, along with genuinely learning so much about astronomy, it was one of my favorite courses I've taken at UW thus far. Based on my participation during in-person discussions and the work I've submitted for projects, homework assignments, and exams, along with the information I provided in my resume on my previous research experience and qualifications, I believe you could effectively vouch for me as a suitable recipient of these REU opportunities. Next, I say I have attached the following to this email. So I attached my resume, which is a summary of qualifications and my research experience, my unofficial transcript, and I also created a document for REU information. I specifically stated a description of each REU I'm applying for, when I'm going to be working on each application. Submission deadlines for these letter writers is super important, that they know when the application is due, and instructions on how to submit each letter. Boom, it had everything she needed to know about my REU process. Next, I list the different programs that I'm applying for, and I requested that she make submissions for the following, and then I listed them by name. Next, I get into the fact that I haven't formally participated in research with her, which again, if you're contacting a professor that has no idea you exist, this is a good thing to mention. I say, since I have not formally participated in research with you directly, I would love to set up a Zoom meeting where you can get to know me better, and I can further discuss my experience/qualifications and answer any questions you may have. Otherwise, feel free to just contact me via email for further communication. Boom, this right here shows that you are so dedicated to having them be your letter writer and that you're passionate about pursuing this REU enough to take some time out of your day to show them more about you. Lastly was the goodbye, and I also wanted to make sure I acknowledged that they didn't have to write this letter, but I would really, really appreciate it so that, they don't feel forced, and more so that they want to write you a letter. So I say, I appreciate you considering my request. However, if you are unable to write letters for me at this time, I truly understand. Thank you for your time and support, and I wish you a very happy new year. Feel free to customize what I wrote in here and use it for asking for a letter of recommendation for one of your professors. I think this was a super effective email. I sent it to 3 different people and they all accepted to be letter writers. Next, I'm getting into the juicy topic of writing your personal statement. This is normally the section that people are most nervous about. It's definitely pretty intimidating, especially if they give you no information and they're just write a 500 word or less personal statement. I would rather them ask me a question, but if there's no prompt, you're kind of able to have a lot of free creativity in terms of what you write about. Anyway, the 2 most important things I can say about your personal statement is to 1, be specific. Why do you specifically benefit from this specific REU, and why will they benefit from having you? The next point is to be unique. Say that you are passionate without directly saying you are passionate. There are so many beautiful personal statements I've read and so many atrocious ones I've read. So if you want me to make a separate video in terms of how to really write the perfect personal statement, then let me know because I can totally do that. If you are stuck at some point during the personal statement writing process, I recommend that you check out this channel on YouTube. His name is College Essay Guy. He definitely really helped me brainstorm some ideas of what I wanted to write about. There's also a bunch of other channels on YouTube that have very similar content. Sometimes they share their own personal statements that got them into Ivy League or internship or whatever. You can also check out my video that I made a while back. It's called How to Get Into Your Major plus Personal Statement Tips at the University of Washington, where I talked more in depth about writing a personal statement, but I also think I might make an updated video as well. The next thing I want to mention is I am an English tutor. I critique writing all of the time. So if you're in the process of writing a personal statement for college, for an internship, for a job, whatever the case may be, and if you want it reviewed by someone, specifically me or whatever, I can totally do that. So I left my contact email here. It's jessicajelke@gmail.com. The only thing I want to mention is that I would want to put your personal statement in a YouTube video. I would remove all your contact info so the personal statement is totally anonymous, but I think it would be cool to show people examples of what other people have written for personal statements, and I can highlight what are the best qualities from it and also some things to consider fixing or changing in order to make it the perfect personal statement. So if you want your personal statement reviewed, totally free by the way, you are able to contact me and I will go ahead and do that. The next topic is what to do while you're waiting to hear a response from these REU applications. Most likely you're probably going to be busy focusing on your schoolwork, but if you have the time, you can focus on developing your skills, develop your coding languages, develop your writing. There are so many writing prompts that you can do just a little bit every day, and it will get you to becoming a phenomenal writer by the time that these REU application decisions have arrived. You can focus on habit building, you can focus on time management, you can focus on routines, and lastly, you can focus on your physical, mental, and spiritual health. The next thing you can do is explore hobbies. Explore things that you are also passionate about. For example, for me, that's YouTube. For you, it might be something else. Or you can explore different extracurricular activities or student-run organizations. For example, at UW, those are RSOs. Or you can even just work a job and earn money that way. The last topic I'm going to be talking about is healthy ideas in case you face rejection. First thing you want to do is prioritize your health, your mental and physical and spiritual health. And you can do that by doing self-care or exploring other activities that make you happy. But this is also a great time for you to apply to different scholarships and different jobs and different internships, different opportunities for you other than just the REUs. I think it's really important to make your application so perfect so that you're able to go in with the mindset that you're gonna be accepted into the REU programs that you apply for. And then if you're not accepted, that's when you can plan for a backup. Some people may disagree with this mentality, but it's been super helpful for me to be super confident. The next thing I want to mention is that no REU does not equal the end of the world. No REU could equal more time during this summer to explore other activities and your other interests. That is the end of the video, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. And as I mentioned earlier, feel free to contact me at this email if you would like to send me a personal statement that I can review on my YouTube channel. And please subscribe. I just hit 1,000 subscribers the other day, and then it's back down to 994. So if you all enjoyed, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Bye!